What if I told you that your deepest instincts about reality, that nagging feeling that you are living in a shadow play, a grand illusion, are not paranoia? What if they are a memory of how things truly work? You have been handed a user manual for a machine you don't recognize, written in a language you were taught to forget. Tonight, we don't just read that manual. We learn the language. We decode the operating system of reality itself.
Welcome to Secrets of the Ancients, where ancient mysteries awaken.
That single, piercing observation from Carl Jung, one of the great explorers of the human psyche, serves as the perfect gateway into the world we are about to enter. It is a world not of myth, but of mechanics, not of gods, but of consciousness. A world meticulously documented by an intelligence known to us as Thoth the Atlantean. For millennia, the name Thoth has been shrouded in layers of mythology. We see him as the ibis-headed scribe of the Egyptian pantheon, the keeper of records, the judge of the dead. This is a caricature, a simplified icon designed for a civilization that could no longer grasp the sheer scale of the truth. It is a symbol left behind, like a landmark pointing toward a city that has long since sunk beneath the waves of time. The real Thoth, the consciousness that authored the Emerald Tablets, was not a god to be worshipped. Worship was irrelevant to him. He was a master of systems, a scientist of the soul, a navigator of dimensions. The knowledge he left behind was not a collection of stories to comfort us. It was a blueprint, a detailed, obsessive, and staggeringly precise blueprint of the structure of existence. Most people who encounter the Emerald Tablets skim the surface. They cherry-pick quotes that sound profound, tattoo a line or two of cryptic wisdom and move on, believing they have grasped the essence. But that is like looking at the cover of a physics textbook and claiming to understand quantum mechanics. The tablets were intentionally designed to be impenetrable to the casual mind. They are encrypted, not with ciphers, but with a vibrational language that repels the unready. Their truths are wrapped in layers of metaphor, geometric logic, and resonant frequencies. But here is the secret that unlocks it all. Once you learn to read them not literally but dimensionally, they cease to be poetry and become what they always were, a metaphysical operations manual. Tonight, we will do what few have ever attempted. We will deconstruct these teachings, piece by piece. We will strip away the esoteric veil and reveal the raw, functional mechanics beneath. This is not a journey for the faint of heart. It requires you to suspend your disbelief, to question the very foundations of your perception. But if you can absorb what is being offered, you will never see the world or yourself the same way again. This is the Thoth manuscript, decoding the operating system of reality. To truly begin this journey, we must first agree to uninstall the most fundamental piece of software our civilization has given us: the belief in a dead, material universe. The idea that the world is a collection of inert objects, separate from us, governed by cold, meaningless chance. This is the great lie, the foundational error that makes all other truths inaccessible. The bedrock of the Thothian system, the master key that unlocks every other door, is this: the universe does not begin with matter. It begins with vibration. And this vibration is not mindless, chaotic noise. It is a symphony, a structured, infinitely complex and intelligent field of frequency. Modern physics, in its most advanced and speculative corners, has been forced to arrive at the same conclusion. String theory posits that at the subatomic level, there are no particles, only infinitesimally small, vibrating strings of energy. Quantum field theory tells us that the vacuum of space is not empty, but a seething plenum of potential, and that particles are merely localized excitations of this underlying field. They are, in their own technical language, rediscovering what Thoth laid out millennia ago. Everything is frequency. This is not a metaphor. It is the literal architecture of existence. The chair you're in feels solid only because the frequencies of its atomic structure are vibrating at a rate that your senses interpret as solid. Your thoughts are not abstract phantoms. They are measurable electrical frequencies pulsing through your neural network. Your emotions are powerful waves of biochemical and energetic information. When Thoth speaks of light, he's not talking about the visible spectrum. For him, light is the principle of coherence. It is information organizing itself into higher and higher states of complexity and harmony. A crystal is more light than a pile of sand. A symphony is more light than random noise. A self-aware, integrated consciousness is the pinnacle of light in this framework. It is the universe becoming aware of itself. Conversely, darkness is not a moral judgment or a sentient evil. It is the principle of entropy. It is the tendency for systems to lose information, to devolve into chaos, to fall out of sync. It is stagnation. An unconscious life, lived on pure reaction and instinct, is a life lived in the shadowlands of entropy. It decays because it is not actively, consciously aligning with the organizing principle of light. This model completely reframes our understanding of life and death. Death, in this system, loses its terrifying finality. It is a programmed reboot. Imagine your life is a complex software program running on biological hardware. Over time, it accumulates bugs, glitches, and conflicting code from traumatic experiences and unresolved emotional frequencies. At some point, the program becomes too inefficient to continue. Physical death is the system shutting down to allow the core code, the soul's consciousness, to be debugged and redeployed. This is the function of the halls of Amenti. Let's strip away the mythological imagery of an underworld and see it for what Thoth describes: a vibrational state, a dimensional holding area, a kind of cosmic defrag process. It is outside of linear time. Here, the consciousness engages in a process strikingly similar to what is reported in modern near-death experiences: a life review. But it is not a judgment. It is a data analysis. The soul consciousness reviews the dissonant frequencies from the past life, the moments of fear, hatred, betrayal, not to be punished for them, but to understand their cause and effect. It then chooses the specific parameters, the energetic curriculum, for its next incarnation, to provide the perfect opportunity to resolve those very dissonances and integrate those lessons. It is an elegant, efficient, and utterly impersonal system for evolution. So why the encryption? Why the riddles and symbols? Because direct exposure to the source code of reality is dangerous for a mind unprepared. It's like staring directly into the sun. The system is designed with a resonant failsafe. The knowledge is locked, and the key is a specific state of being. You must vibrate at a certain level of readiness and sincerity to even begin to perceive the meaning behind the words. It's the ultimate form of information security. If you are not ready, you will see only myth and poetry. If you are, you will see a user manual. Let's revisit our stone mason, Kale, and go deeper. His master never gives him a direct lesson. The instructions are always oblique, frustratingly metaphorical. One day, after Kale has learned to feel the resonant frequency of the stones, his master poses a new riddle. The stone is a patient teacher, he says, but it only speaks in the language of perfect silence. Your noise makes it deaf. Kale interprets this physically. He tries to work in the dead of night, away from the sounds of the camp. But his tools are still loud, his movements clumsy. The stone remains stubborn. He grows enraged, a hot, chaotic frequency of frustration that makes his work even worse. The stones he cuts are jagged, ugly, full of discord. Defeated, he sits before a giant, perfectly dressed block, a relic from the first time, the age of the gods. In the moonlight, its surface seems to shimmer. He places his hand on it, and instead of trying to hear the stone, he tries to listen to the silence his master spoke of. He stills his own body. He slows his breath. He begins to notice the cacophony is not outside of him, but inside him. The endless chatter of his mind, his ambition, his jealousy of the other apprentices, his fear of failure. This was the noise. He spends a month doing nothing but sitting, practicing the art of internal silence. He learns to observe his thoughts without becoming them. He lets them rise and fall like bubbles in water, without attachment. One day, in a state of profound inner quiet, he places his hand on a raw, uncut block of granite. And for the first time, he feels it. Not a sound, but a feeling. A deep, slow, crystalline pulse. It was the stone's resonant signature, its name in the language of vibration. It had been there all along, but his own mental static had been too loud to perceive it. He picks up his chisel and a wooden mallet. He doesn't strike. He closes his eyes, holds the tool against the stone, and in his mind he projects his intention. He visualizes the clean line of the cut, not with force, but with a feeling of harmonious agreement. He aligns his own now quiet energy field with the deep, slow pulse of the stone. Then he taps the chisel. The sound is not a sharp crack, but a deep thrum. A fissure appears on the stone, not a jagged crack, but a perfectly straight line, following the invisible crystalline matrix within. It parted not because he forced it, but because he asked it in the only language it understood, the language of pure, coherent frequency. He had learned to get out of his own way. He had learned that mastery wasn't about imposing your will on reality, but about aligning your will with the silent, underlying laws of reality itself. To grasp the sheer scale of this knowledge, we have to upgrade our concept of the one who delivered it. The sanitized caricature of the ibis-headed god is a container, a symbol left for the masses. The consciousness that we call Thoth was something far more complex and elusive, a non-human, ancient intelligence that operated beyond the constraints of linear time and singular identity. Think of it this way. Your culture, your language, your entire worldview is a kind of operating system. For this intelligence to interface with humanity, it couldn't just dump its raw data onto us. It had to write a program compatible with our system. In the context of dynastic Egypt, that program was Thoth, the divine scribe. For the esoteric Greeks, it was Hermes, the messenger of the gods. For the mystical Hebrews, it was Enoch, the man who walked so closely with the divine that he transcended death. These were not different beings. They were different user interfaces, tailored for different cultural mainframes. The same core information, packaged differently for maximum resonance. In his own texts, Thoth describes himself as a survivor of Atlantis. He speaks of its fall not with sadness, but with the dispassionate analysis of an engineer examining a catastrophic system failure. Atlantis was not a magical utopia. It was a civilization that had mastered the physics of consciousness. Its technology was based on the direct manipulation of frequency and geometric light. But their technical mastery outpaced their ethical and spiritual development. They had the power of gods, but the wisdom of men. Their fall was a cautionary tale written into the very fabric of our planet's memory. They misused the crystalline energy grid, creating a vibrational dissonance so profound that it destabilized the planetary field. Imagine striking a crystal glass with the wrong frequency, causing it to shatter. Now imagine doing that on a planetary scale. The result was a pole shift, atmospheric collapse, and a geological cataclysm that sank their continent and plunged the world into a dark age. It was a failure of consciousness that precipitated a physical reality collapse. Thoth and others like him were not refugees fleeing a disaster. They were archivists, preserving the core code from a corrupted system, tasked with seeding it into the next cycle of humanity. Egypt was chosen for its precise location on the planet's energy grid, its major ley lines, or dragon lines, which made it a powerful energetic acupuncture point. It was the ideal place to build a machine to help restabilize the planet's frequency and preserve the knowledge for a future time when humanity would be ready. That machine was the Giza Plateau, and the Great Pyramid was its central processing unit. To call it a tomb is an insult to its creators. It is a work of breathtakingly precise geoengineering. Modern theorists like Christopher Dunn have compellingly argued that it was, in fact, a machine, a Giza power plant. Let's break down this function. The pyramid was built upon a limestone aquifer. The movement of water through subterranean chambers would have created a low-level seismic hum, a source of vibration. The structure itself, built largely of limestone, is an excellent insulator. But the inner chambers, like the King's Chamber, are constructed from massive blocks of Aswan granite. Granite is rich in quartz crystals, up to 55% by mass. Quartz exhibits a property called piezoelectricity. When you put it under mechanical stress, like, say, the immense weight of the pyramid and the constant seismic hum from below, it generates an electrical field. The entire King's Chamber was a massive piezoelectric generator. This energy was then converted into a microwave signal, amplified by the precise dimensions of the chamber, which acted as a resonant cavity. The shafts pointing to the stars were not for observing them. They were waveguides, aimed to collect and focus specific cosmic microwave frequencies, adding them to the mix. The result: the pyramid was a massive, acoustically tuned vibrational machine. It drew energy from the Earth, combined it with energy from the stars, and transduced it into a powerful, coherent field of energy. This energy could be used for many things: stabilizing the planetary grid, powering tools, and most importantly, creating an amplified energetic field for the process of initiation. An initiate, lying in the granite coffer, which itself was tuned to a specific harmonic, would have their own consciousness field amplified to an unimaginable degree, allowing them to safely navigate other dimensions. It was a consciousness-assisted stargate. This is the mind of Thoth, not a priest, not a king, but a master physicist and a grand architect, working with laws of nature we are only just beginning to rediscover. He didn't come to be worshipped. He came to build. And what he built was a library of stone and a machine of light, waiting silently for his inheritors to remember how to turn it back on. Now we turn from the macrocosm of the universe to the microcosm of you. For Thoth's teachings insist that the two are not separate. You are a universe in miniature, containing all the same laws, structures, and potentials. But to access that power, you must first understand your own components. You have been given a deeply simplified, almost useless diagram of your own soul. Let's replace it with the original Atlantean schematic. Your soul is not a single, ethereal spark. It is a multi-layered, luminous body, a configuration of interlocking energy fields, each with a specific function. The ancient Egyptians, inheritors of this knowledge, cataloged these layers with scientific precision. Let's examine the primary components. The cot. This is the physical body, the biological hardware. It is the densest vehicle, your anchor in this 3D reality. It's not just a meat suit. It is a crystalline, liquid-based antenna, constantly receiving and transmitting frequency. The health of your cot directly impacts the clarity of your signal. The Ka. This is your vital double, your etheric body. Imagine a luminous, energetic scaffold that exactly mirrors your physical body, but extends slightly beyond it. This is the field that holds your life force, your Kai or prana. When you feel drained, it's your Ka that is depleted. When you feel vibrant, your Ka is strong and coherent. It is the immediate interface between the physical and non-physical. The Ba. This is the aspect of you that most closely resembles personality. It is a mobile aspect of your consciousness, often depicted as a human-headed bird, which could travel outside the body during sleep or deep trance. The Ba is the carrier of your individuated consciousness. It is the part that journeys to the halls of a Menti after death and decides to reincarnate, carrying the integrated wisdom and unresolved dissonances of your past experiences. The Ab. This is the heart, but not just the physical organ. It was considered the seat of intelligence, conscience, and memory. The Egyptians believed the brain was just skull stuffing. It was the heart that was the true processor. In the weighing of the heart ceremony, it was the Ab that was weighed against the feather of mad truth. This isn't poetry. They knew the heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field, far stronger than the brain's, that encodes information. Your heart is a thinking, feeling, remembering organ, the Sahu. This is the glorified body, the spirit body. You are not born with this. It is built. Through a lifetime, or more often, many lifetimes, of disciplined spiritual work, of purifying the lower bodies and aligning with law, the initiate crystallizes a permanent vehicle of consciousness. This is the golden wedding garment spoken of in other traditions. It is a body of light that is immortal and can navigate any dimension at will. It is the vehicle of a true master. Most humans live their lives completely unaware of this complex inner machinery. They identify only with the physical body and the surface-level personality. As a result, they live in a state of fragmentation. This is the deeper meaning of trauma. Let's expand on the story of the shattered vase. This isn't just a metaphor for emotional pain. It's a description of an energetic event. When a person experiences an overwhelming trauma, a moment of terror, abuse, or profound betrayal, the shock can be so great that a part of their Ka, their vital essence, literally splinters off to survive. This is a psychic defense mechanism. The fragment, containing the memory and emotional charge of the event, dissociates from the main consciousness field. In modern psychology, this is called dissociation. In shamanic traditions, it's called soul loss. This lost fragment doesn't cease to exist. It becomes a kind of rogue satellite, orbiting the main consciousness but no longer integrated with it. It operates from its own timeline, frozen in the moment of the trauma. This is the source of PTSD, of flashbacks, of emotional triggers that seem disproportionate to the current situation. The person is not reacting to what's happening now. They are re-experiencing the unresolved frequency of the lost soul fragment. Over many lifetimes, a soul can accumulate numerous fragments, resulting in a person born with a profound, gnawing sense of emptiness, chronic depression, or addictions. They are trying to fill a hole in their energy field, a space where a part of their own soul used to be. The healing process, which shamans call soul retrieval, is the process of calling these fragments home. It requires creating a safe, compassionate space within yourself, traveling into the inner landscape of your consciousness, finding that lost piece of you, and convincing it that it's safe to return. It's not about reliving the trauma. It's about rescuing the part of you that is still trapped there. When the fragment is reintegrated, its energy and its wisdom are restored to the whole. The person feels a tangible sense of becoming more whole, more themselves. This is the deep, mechanical work of healing, and it directly impacts the process of reincarnation. Thoth describes this not as a moral system, but as a law of vibrational physics. Imagine your consciousness at the moment of death is a spinning top. If your life was filled with unresolved trauma, inner conflict, and dissonant frequencies, the top is spinning erratically, wobbling all over the place. When it re-enters the field of manifestation, it will be drawn into a life circumstance that perfectly mirrors that wobble, that chaos. This isn't a punishment, it's the law of resonance. The universe is giving you a chance to stabilize your spin. But if you have done the work of soul retrieval, of integrating your fragments, of aligning your heart and mind, your spin is stable, fast, and coherent. You enter the next life from a position of balance and power, with more of your innate wisdom and memory intact. You're not stuck repeating the same turbulent lessons. You graduate to a higher grade. Your soul isn't seeking comfort. It's seeking coherence. And Thoth didn't give us prayers, he gave us a schematic. Now we arrive at the operating principles of the system. These are not rules to be obeyed out of fear. They are laws of physics to be understood and utilized, like an engineer uses the laws of thermodynamics. To ignore them is to live a life of friction, chaos, and self-sabotage. To align with them is to move through life with grace, power, and precision. The Kybalion summarizes 7 of them, but Thoth embedded them into the very fabric of his teachings. Let's dissect them with the precision they deserve. 1. The principle of polarity, the art of transmutation. This law states that everything has its opposite, and that opposites are merely 2 extremes of the same thing. Love and hate, courage and fear, wealth and poverty, they are not separate realities. They are different points on a single spectrum, a single vibratory scale. The average person is a slave to this law, thrown back and forth between the poles like a ship in a storm. Their life is a drama of swinging from euphoria to despair. They identify with the pole they are experiencing, believing I am sad or I am angry. The master understands that they are not the pole. They are the consciousness that is observing the pole, and they have the ability to move their point of focus along the spectrum. This is the great art of mental transmutation. It is not about denying the negative pole. Denial is energetic suppression, and it is toxic. It is about consciously raising your vibration along the scale. The mastery. When you feel the hot, chaotic energy of fear rising, you don't fight it. You acknowledge it. You feel its power. But then you consciously focus your will. You ask, what is the opposite pole of this energy? It is courage. So you begin to deliberately shift your focus. You stand taller. You breathe deeper. You consciously call forth memories of times you were brave. You are not destroying the energy of fear. You are repolarizing it, transmuting its raw power into a higher, more coherent frequency. The same applies to anger. Anger is immense power. Instead of letting it devolve into destructive rage, you can harness its energy and transmute it into focused, passionate, disciplined action to change the conditions that cause the anger. This is alchemy. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are an alchemist of your own energy field. 2. The principle of rhythm, the art of surfing the wave. This law states that everything moves in cycles. An inhalation is followed by an exhalation. An expansion is followed by a contraction. A tide comes in and a tide goes out. This is inescapable. In life, periods of gain are followed by periods of loss. Periods of high energy are followed by periods of rest and recovery. The unaware person fights this rhythm. During the good times, they become arrogant and careless, believing the upswing will last forever. When the inevitable downswing comes, they fall into despair and victimhood, believing they are cursed. They are constantly being thrashed by the waves. The master learns to surf. They understand that the rhythm is inevitable. So, during the upswing, they are not complacent. They use the energy of the high to prepare for the low. They save resources, build foundations, and deepen their spiritual practice. During the downswing, they do not resist or despair. They embrace it as a necessary period of rest, consolidation, and going within. They know that by the law itself, the pendulum will swing back. They neutralize the emotional impact of the swing by raising their consciousness above it. They are the still point around which the pendulum swings. They are not the wave. They are the surfer, using the wave's own energy to move forward. 3. The principle of cause and effect, the art of seeding. This is perhaps the most empowering and most misunderstood law. It states that every effect you see in your life has a specific, identifiable cause. Nothing is random. Chance is merely a name for a cause you haven't yet perceived. Most people live on the effect side of the equation. They see themselves as victims of circumstance, constantly reacting to a world that happens to them. They blame their problems on their parents, their boss, the government, the economy, anything but the true source, the mastery. The master chooses to live on the cause side. They take radical responsibility for everything in their reality. They understand that their dominant thoughts, their deeply held and often unconscious beliefs, and their consistent emotional states are the causal seeds they are planting in the fertile field of universal consciousness. The conditions of their life are the harvest. If they don't like the harvest, they don't blame the weather. They begin, with meticulous care, to plant different seeds. If you desire abundance but you are constantly planting seeds of I'm not worthy or there's never enough, you will reap a harvest of lack. The universe is not punishing you. It is merely a perfect, non-judgmental mirror, reflecting your own causal energy back to you. The master becomes a conscious gardener of their own mind and heart. They refuse to allow a single negative, disempowering seed to be planted without their consent. This is not about positive thinking. It is about causal hygiene. You don't get what you want. You get what you are, vibrationally. By mastering the causes within yourself, you become the architect of the effects in your life. You stop being a character in the story and become the author. We have been conditioned to see technology as something external, a circuit board, a silicon chip, a machine that exists outside of our own skin. This is a profound limitation. It is the mindset of a fallen age. The ancients, inheritors of the Thothian science, understood that the most powerful technology in the universe was the human being itself. Their devices were not meant to replace human potential, but to amplify it. They were building bridges between consciousness and the material world. Let's look at the Merkaba. The popular image of two interlocking pyramids is a static 2D blueprint. The reality is far more dynamic. The Merkaba is a living, counter-rotating field of geometric light that is latent around every human body. It is comprised of two interlocking, three-sided pyramids of light, tetrahedrons. One points up to the sky, is electrical in nature, masculine in principle, and rotates clockwise. This is the sun tetrahedron. The other points down to the earth, is magnetic in nature, feminine in principle, and rotates counterclockwise. This is the earth tetrahedron. In a dormant state, these two fields are static. The process of activating the Merkaba was not a gentle meditation. It was a precise sequence of bioenergetic engineering. It involved a series of 17 specific breaths, each one coupled with a specific mudra hand position and a powerful, focused visualization. The breaths were designed to pull prana, or life force energy, into the body through a central crystalline tube that runs along the spine, charging the two tetrahedrons. The mudras directed the flow of this energy. The visualizations programmed the intent. The first 6 breaths balance the polarities within the body. The next 7 focus on accumulating a massive amount of prana. The 14th breath is the critical one. The initiate shifts their perception of where the pranic energy originates, from the base of the spine to the heart center. At this moment, a sphere of energy explodes from the heart, forming the foundation of the living Merkaba field. The final 3 breaths are used to spin the 2 counter-rotating fields up to a critical velocity, specifically to a speed where the outer rim of the field is moving at 9/10 the speed of light. When this state is achieved, the Merkaba becomes a vehicle. It generates a self-contained, interdimensional field that allows the consciousness within it to literally move through space, time, and dimensions without dissociating. It is a personal spacecraft, powered by breath and piloted by intention. This is not myth. This is physics, a lost physics of the human energy field. This brings us to their crystalline technology. The legends of Atlantis speak of the Great Crystal, or the firestone that powered their civilization. Again, let's strip away the fantasy and look at the function. These crystals were not simply batteries. They were consciousness-amplifying transceivers. Modern science knows that quartz crystals can hold a stable vibration, which is why we use them in watches and computers. But this is a child's understanding of their potential. The Atlanteans knew how to grow crystals with specific lattice structures to perform specific functions. These were living data storage devices, capable of holding vast amounts of information not as binary code, but as holographic light patterns. They formed a planetary telepathic network, a kind of spiritual internet. An initiate could interface their consciousness directly with a crystal, accessing information, communicating over vast distances, and even manifesting physical objects by impressing a coherent thought form onto the crystal's resonant field. The Great Crystal was the central server of this network. It was located at a primary node of the Earth's energy grid and acted as a sun-powered amplifier, regulating the entire planetary field. The fall of Atlantis can be understood as a cautionary tale of this network becoming corrupted. A faction of Atlantean priests, driven by ego and a desire for control, began to use the crystal network for selfish purposes. They introduced dissonant frequencies, fear, domination, separation, into the grid. It was the ultimate act of psychic warfare, a virus introduced into the planetary operating system. The Great Crystal, unable to resolve these conflicting frequencies, overloaded. The resulting feedback loop shattered the coherence of the planetary grid, leading to the cataclysm. They had the ultimate tool for unity, and they used it to engineer their own self-destruction. This is the power Thoth spoke of, the power of sound and resonance. Archaeologists are baffled by sites in Egypt and Peru where massive granite blocks have been drilled with holes that are perfectly circular and exhibit rifle-like grooves, suggesting a tool that rotated at incredible speeds. No known ancient drill can do this in granite, but a tool that utilizes focused, high-frequency sound, an ultrasonic drill, could do it with ease. They weren't drilling, they were disassociating the molecular structure. This technology went far beyond construction. Specific frequencies could be used to accelerate the healing of tissue, to resonate with the water in the body and purify it. And on the other end of the spectrum, focused, low-frequency sound, infrasound, could be used as a devastating weapon, capable of shattering stone or boiling the water in a person's cells. The ancients knew that sound was a creative and destructive force of unimaginable power. They had a technology of vibration that made our clumsy mechanical and chemical technologies look primitive. And we are standing in the ruins of it, calling it a mystery. It is not a mystery, it is a memory. Now we must tackle the most profound prison ever constructed, the prison of linear time, the belief that you are trapped on a one-way street, moving from a dead past to an unborn future. This belief is the primary source of human suffering, regret for the past, anxiety for the future. Thoth taught that this entire construct is an illusion, a trick of our limited 3D perception. Modern physics is once again catching up. The theory of the block universe, which grows out of Einstein's relativity, suggests that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Imagine time as a vast, four-dimensional block of space-time. Every event that has ever happened or ever will happen already exists at a specific coordinate within this block. Your consciousness, moving through the block, illuminates one slice at a time, creating the illusion of a flowing present moment. But the other slices, your past and your future, are just as real and just as present, existing at different coordinates. In this model, memory is not a faint neurological echo of an event that is gone forever. Memory is the act of your consciousness focusing on a past coordinate in the space-time block. Precognition, or prophecy, is not the prediction of an unwritten future. It is the perception of a future coordinate that already exists. This is precisely what Thoth described. He saw time not as a line, but as a landscape, a field of infinite parallel timelines, all coexisting in the eternal now. You are not living one life. You are living all of your lives, all of your potential choices, simultaneously on these parallel tracks. The experience you are having right now is simply the timeline your consciousness is currently tuned to. This brings us to the crucial mechanism of choice. How do you move from one timeline to another? It is not done by force. It is done by resonance. Imagine you are in a library that contains an infinite number of films. Each film is a complete timeline, a full life experience from start to finish. Your current state of being, the sum total of your beliefs, emotions, and dominant frequency, is your library card. This card will only grant you access to films that match its energetic signature. If your library card is encoded with the frequency of victimhood, you will only be able to check out and experience timelines where you are a victim. If your card is encoded with unworthiness, you will find yourself living out a film of struggle and failure. You cannot experience a timeline of joyous abundance if your frequency is locked on lack. The system will not allow it. To change your life, you do not try to splice a new scene into the film you are watching. That is a struggle, a fight against reality. Instead, you focus all your work on changing the energetic signature of your library card. You do the inner work. You heal your traumas, you challenge your limiting beliefs, you transmute your dense emotions. As you change your core frequency, your library card is recoded. And suddenly, you gain access to a whole new section of the library. New timelines, new possibilities which were always there, now become available to you because you have finally become a vibrational match to them. Let's conclude the story of Clara, the woman with the phobia of fire. After her spontaneous vision of being burned at the stake, she did not dismiss it as a strange dream. She recognized it as a bleed-through from a parallel timeline, a traumatic echo still resonating in her field. So she began the work. She didn't need a regression therapist. She used the principles of mastery. In a deep meditative state, she intentionally called the vision back. But this time, she did not enter it as the victim. She entered it as her higher, sovereign self, an observer made of pure compassion. She stood beside the woman at the stake, her other self, and instead of feeling terror, she flooded that version of herself with an overwhelming frequency of love, forgiveness, and peace. She communicated telepathically to her past self. "You are not alone. This pain has a purpose. It is over now. You are forgiven. You are free." She was not trying to change the event. The event existed at its own coordinate in the block universe. Instead, she was changing her relationship to it. She was applying a healing frequency to an old wound. She performed this act of conscious compassion several times over a few weeks. One day, she realized her neighbor was having a bonfire. She could smell the smoke, see the flames flickering, and she felt nothing. The panic was gone. The trigger was inert. The traumatic frequency had been neutralized because she had integrated the fragment. She had not erased the past. She had healed her present by recoding her energetic connection to a parallel experience in time. This is how you navigate the illusion. You stop being a prisoner of a single, linear story. You become a conscious navigator of infinite possibilities, choosing your experience not by what happens to you, but by the frequency you choose to be. This brings us to the ultimate purpose of the Thothian system, Ascension, and we must immediately discard the cartoonish images of being beamed up into a spaceship or floating away on a cloud. Ascension is not an escape. It is a transformation. It is the alchemical process of transmuting the dense, carbon-based human body into a crystalline body of light. It is the process of raising your baseline frequency until you are no longer a vibrational match for the density, chaos, and limitations of this third-dimensional reality. You do not go anywhere. You outgrow here. The path is deceptively simple in its description, yet it demands total dedication in its practice. It is the path of vibrational hygiene. It requires you to become a conscious steward of your own frequency, meticulously curating every single thing that you allow into your energy field. This extends far beyond just thinking positive thoughts. It encompasses your entire life. Your information diet. What are you feeding your mind? Are you consuming a constant stream of fear, outrage, and division from mainstream media? Are you numbing yourself with mindless entertainment? Or are you deliberately seeking out knowledge that empowers, uplifts, and expands your consciousness? Every article you read, every video you watch, is either raising your frequency or lowering it. There is no neutral ground. Your physical diet. You are not a brain driving a body. Your body is a biocomputer made from the food you eat. Are you building it from dead, processed, chemical-laden materials? Or are you building it from living, high-frequency foods, full of sunlight, pure water, and life force? Ascension requires a vessel clean enough and strong enough to hold a higher voltage of consciousness. Your body is either becoming an anchor or it is becoming a temple of light. Your relational field, the people you surround yourself with, create a powerful, resonant field. Are you spending your time with people who gossip, complain, and live in victimhood? Their frequency will inevitably entrain yours downward. Or are you seeking out relationships that challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable to your highest potential? You must become ruthless in protecting your energetic space. Your sonic environment. Are you constantly bathing in chaotic noise, dissonant music, and the harsh frequencies of the city? Or are you consciously seeking out silence, the sounds of nature, or harmonic music tuned to frequencies like 432 Hz that are known to be resonant with the body's natural state? This is the work. It is the moment-to-moment, choice-by-choice process of cleaning your signal. As you do this, your own cells begin to change. The water in your body becomes more structured, more crystalline. Your DNA, which scientists call 95% junk, begins to activate, revealing its true function as a quantum antenna, capable of receiving and transmitting information directly from the universal field. Your body literally becomes less dense. It begins to hold more light. This is the state of being from which you can truly create. From this platform of high-frequency coherence, your intentions are no longer weak whispers in a hurricane of noise. They are powerful, laser-focused commands that the universe must respond to. This is because you are no longer fighting the system. You are aligned with its fundamental law, the law of resonance. Ascension, therefore, is the final graduation from victimhood into complete sovereignty. An ascended being does not blame. They do not complain. They do not see a world of enemies or oppressors. They see a world of mirrors. They understand, on a cellular level, that their external reality is a perfect, flawless reflection of their internal state. If there is chaos in their world, they look for the chaos within themselves and heal it. If there is lack, they find the consciousness of lack within and transmute it. They take 100% responsibility for their own creation. This is the ultimate power. It is the realization that you are not a character in a story, but the author, the director, and the projector all in one. The world does not happen to you. It happens from you. Thoth did not leave us a religion of worship. He left us a science of self-creation. The choice to engage with that science, to do the hard, meticulous work of cleaning your own signal, is the only choice that has ever mattered. You are the architect. The question is, what will you choose to build? Most people will not get this. Not because they are incapable, but because they have been meticulously trained not to care. They have been conditioned to roll their eyes at anything ancient, symbolic, or esoteric. They have been distracted into a state of comfortable numbness, entertained into willing obedience. And this is not entirely their fault. The system that governs this world doesn't need to burn books or hide the truth in a vault. It just needs to make sure no one takes it seriously. And it has done a masterful job. You can quote Thoth, read the emerald tablets, wear an ankh around your neck, and still miss the entire point. Because if this knowledge does not fundamentally change how you think, how you feel, and how you act every single moment of your day, then you are not decoding the truth. You are just decorating your prison cell. The teachings of Thoth are not secret because they are hidden. They are secret because they require qualities the modern world has conditioned you to abandon: effort, stillness, discernment, and radical self-honesty. You were trained to seek constant stimulation, not quiet contemplation, to crave fast, easy answers, not layered, nuanced truths. So when a consciousness like Thoth speaks in the language of geometry, vibration, and metaphor, the conditioned mind scrolls past. Or worse, it scoffs. But the laws he outlined do not require your belief to function, and your soul will not wait forever. Every time you instinctively reach for your phone to escape a moment of silence with yourself, you delay the work. Every time you ignore that deep, internal pull towards something more profound because it feels inconvenient or uncomfortable, you miss a signal. You were never meant to be a passive consumer of this reality. You were meant to be an active participant, a co-creator. But most people are running on software they did not write, hand-me-down beliefs, second-hand goals, recycled thoughts and opinions. That is not evolution. That is stagnation in disguise, and Thoth knew this. That is why he encrypted his teachings, not to keep people out, but to protect the unready from knowledge they could not wield without harming themselves. And here is the part that stings. Readiness is not a measure of intelligence. It is a measure of integrity. Are you willing to question your most cherished beliefs, your identity, your story? Are you willing to allow the version of you that the world may have applauded but which your soul has long since outgrown to dissolve? If the answer is no, the door to this deeper reality remains closed, not as a punishment but as a form of cosmic protection. Because true knowledge, once seen, demands transformation. You do not get to stay the same once your eyes have adjusted to this level of light. And that is the point where most people tap out. Not because they don't understand, but because, on some level, they don't want to. They say they want freedom, but they are unwilling to stop feeding the machine that perpetuates their slavery. They say they want truth, but only if it confirms what they already believe. Thoth did not teach comfort. He taught transformation. This was never just about him. It was always about you. Every riddle, every law, every vibration is a mirror, held up not to flatter you, but to reveal you to yourself. To expose every last place where you are operating from unconscious programming instead of cosmic law. To show you that your resistance isn't to this information. It's to the immense responsibility that comes with it. Because once you see the code, you can never again pretend you didn't. From that moment forward, every choice you make becomes a referendum on your own awareness. You either choose alignment or you choose decay. You are either ascending or you are looping. And looping always feels safe, right up until the moment it begins to suffocate you. This was never about Thoth, not really. It was always about helping you remember yourself. You don't resonate with these ideas because they are new and exciting. You resonate with them because, on the deepest level of your being, they are profoundly familiar. This knowledge doesn't teach you anything you didn't already. On some level, no. It just gives you the language, the structure, the framework for what has been sitting, unspoken, inside of you your entire life. And once you can name it, you can begin to claim it. That is the shift. When this information stops being an external set of concepts and starts moving through your actions, your thoughts, and your energy field, that is when it becomes truth. And real truth does not ask for your worship. It asks for your embodiment. You weren't born to obey, to conform, to loop through recycled desires and shallow distractions. You were born to create, to move reality, to clean your signal until the distortion of this world can't hold you anymore. The moment you stop outsourcing your truth to others and claim your own sovereignty is the moment you start to rise. Not in theory, in frequency. If something inside of you, something quiet, ancient, and unshakable, has been nodding along this entire time, do not ignore that feeling. That is the real you, the you before the programming, the you that has always been there, watching, waiting for you to stop pretending that you don't remember. You have made it this far because you are ready to go deeper, to unlock what is still hidden, and to receive the teachings that cannot be shared openly in a place like this. The real work starts now, in your next breath, in your next choice, in your own private stillness. This path does not end here. For those who are ready to move from theory to practice, from knowledge to embodiment, the journey continues. Thoth was not a beginning or an end. He was a reminder that you and you alone are the gatekeeper. You are the signal. You are the architect.